Mandarin Grammar with Chen Lao Shi, woo! 大家好! Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chinese Grammar. I apologize in advance for my voice not existing today. Woo! So we just finished our question word series, and now we're moving on to measure words. We already talked about measure words a little bit when we talked about the question words that require them, which are 几 and 哪, which mean how many and which. But measure words are super important to Chinese, so I figured they deserved their own series of videos. You're going to use measure words all the time, because almost every time that you're going to talk about a noun as a countable thing, you'll need to use a measure word. We kind of have measure words in English too. Like, for instance, we say a piece of paper instead of just a paper, and we say 3 cups of tea instead of 3 teas. The words in these phrases, like piece and cups, are kind of like measure words. They tell how much of a noun you have or want. Let's look at an example in Chinese. We could say 一个人, which means one person. The order here is number, measure word, noun. In our English translation, the word 个, which is our measure word, isn't really included, since we don't require a measure word in this case. However, in the Chinese translation, 个 is still there, so let's keep measure word in parentheses to remind us that we still have a measure word in our Chinese phrase. In a sentence, we could say 我家有一个人. My family has one person. If that's true, I'm sorry and I hope you're not too lonely. Note that the order, number, measure word, noun, still applies here when it's in a sentence. In this sentence, 个 is our measure word. 个 is the most commonly used measure word in Chinese, and it's frequently used for words related to people. So we could say 五个妹妹, which means 5 little sisters, and we could also say 三个爷爷, which means 3 grandpas. Both of these phrases keep the order number, measure word, noun. Also, remember that Chinese singular nouns and plural nouns are the same thing. In English, to pluralize grandpa, we change it to grandpas. However, in Chinese, 爷爷 can mean grandpa singular or grandpas plural, depending on the context. In this case, in 三个爷爷, we know that 爷爷 is plural because we use the word 三, which means 3. So basically, Chinese doesn't see a need to change nouns to make them plural, because it's awesome like that. And that's a wrap on our introduction to measure words. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to check out the interactive activity below before heading on to the next video, where you're going to learn even more measure words. Woo! I'll see you next time. 再见!